The following video is based on news reports on YouTube, as well as attempting to look it up on news sites, which immediately make it to where you can't look at them. This is causing a vacuum of information about the subject, and YouTubers are taking advantage of it by putting up fake news stories or just scaring people. The fault that could destroy the Pacific Northwest just moved. No, it didn't. Here's what to expect. Don't count on that. This was uploaded, it's one of many videos, by Breakpoint YouTube channel, and it's the second most popular video if you look up the keywords to find this one. That channel started May 25th of this year, and most of its uploads may be fully AI authored, not just narrated or curated or with images, but literally written by it, which means you're using an AI utility to do your research, and doing this is a lazy way to make pages, including misspelling subduction at the 52-second mark of the video. I will leave a link to it, but please don't use it. Slow fault slips every 13 to 16 months prevent a buildup, so 1700 was the last megathrust quake event for the Cascadia Subduction Zone. I've done videos on this before. I've been asked about it. The state of Oregon isn't going to, quote, be falling into the ocean, or we're going to, blah, blah. And we're not due for another megathrust earthquake. You will hear and see people do that, including actual scientists. But they're talking about over the next 1,000 years. Make them qualify what they're saying, and if they don't, they're full of it. The quake we're talking about, that was a 5-point whatever quake, was on the Blanco Fracture Zone. This is a slide-by or drive-by fault. It's called a lateral transform fault. Gets 200 quakes a year, which makes it discharge whatever buildup it has. Makes it relatively safe. And it's not a subduction fault, so it can't create a megathrust quake. Now we're going to look at the diagram that was provided only by one source, and it was fucking Facebook. I don't make this shit up. I honestly don't. 135 miles west of Bandon and or Coos Bay, South Oregon coast. Now, again, in the map, they don't show this, but that star right there in the middle of the screen, the happy, joy star like you got when you did good in grade school, that's where it happened. Now, I'm going to compare that to the map, Google Earth map, that includes some, but not all, fault zones. Now, the main fault here that you can actually see going through that would form a straight line, I'm going to try to line that up, and I'm going to move it there. And actually, yeah, that's almost exactly correct. And I'm going to grab the corner in the upper left-hand corner and try to move it. Well, that's almost perfect. And I'm going to try to line up Brookings over here, Crescent City, right here, just the border with Oregon and California. I'm going to try to line that up exactly right. Okay, that's pretty close too. So where the dot is pretty much this dot here. And you'll notice something here, that there's a line going left to right. Now, if you're not aware of the tectonic plates in the area, that means they're sliding past each other. Yes, there is pressure pushing up against each other. There's also pulling forces. But it's not part of the Cascadia Subduction Zone, which is to the right over here. This is the part that's going under our continent. These pieces here are effectively two separate chunks. One of them being part of a former continent that's shoved underneath our North American plate and is melting and forming the mess that would become a problem for all of you near Yellowstone. Anyway, it was at 4:30 a.m. on the 29th June, 6 miles deep, 5.5 quake at those coordinates, and nobody provided coordinates. 135 miles west of Bandon and or Coos Bay in South Oregon coast. Now I'm just going to zoom in just slightly, and we can get Bandon here. So we go measure distance. It's around 135 or so. So 140. Okay, I got it wrong. And on Coos Bay, we're talking about the coastline edge, not the actual city. 138. So yeah, I was about 140. So I'll have to change the number, say 140. I made a mistake. And let's take a look at this in the bigger picture. You might have noticed there's a lot of fractures and faults. A lot of them go east to west. This one is going slightly from the upper left down to the right, and these chunks are being pushed under. This chunk right here is effectively a chunk of a previous oceanic plate, almost like a subcontinent, being jammed underneath, and it's being pushed in at an angle, and it's melting underground, underneath our continent. That edge there with the blue shows the chopping and cracking that's happening at the edge. But that's our continental shelf. If you haven't noticed it, at this point here, I'll just zoom in on it, our continental shelf area almost comes right up to the ground, like to the shoreline. But, you know, that's my bad interpretation. Now, we're going to go over look in Wyoming. And over here, I forgot where it is. I'm sorry. Somewhere in here is the last place we had a caldera explosion. I'm at a loss where it is. I mean, you'd be looking for a big fucking crater. You know, not that. But yeah, there's a bunch of craters going across our continent where we have a hot spot underneath the continent that keeps boiling up molten rock. So from here, all the way off the Oregon coast, you can kind of see the edge of what was an oceanic plate. It's being shoved underneath and melting under here. Actually, all of it, almost all of it's gone. And it's under there melting. And the lowest tip of it that's pushing down towards the core of the earth is melting and pumping up through Wyoming. I'd be a little more worried about Wyoming or you know, all that kind of shit. You know, I don't know where Yellowstone is. I'm just a dumbass. But anyway, let's talk about this. These are sliding past each other at slightly different rates. So their speed is going to be about half, and their pressure is going to be about half of what's ramming into our continent. So this earthquake is definitively in the area of these fractures. We're going to zoom in on it. There's a little seamount, and you can see that this is actually two separate pieces that are fractured loose here. So that's making that area kind of active. And each of these areas here, you can see pull and push, where they're tearing past each other at different rates at various times in history. And then it smooths out over here and gets pushed under because, well, it's being shoved under the plant. Basically, the North American continent's acting like a wood plane grinding it. So, yeah. So, if you were worried about that or saw any scary videos about it, it's horseshit. Look for earthquakes right off the coast of Oregon. Look for earthquakes, oddly enough, way the fuck out here from, I'm going to mark it off, this point here to this point here, which is about 170 miles, or from here up to, let's say, here, which is 300 miles. Those would be indications that not the Cascadia Subduction Zone, but these pieces that are a part of the same system are having events. Okay? All right. Anyway, that's about it. Look at all the sea mountains out there. Uh-oh, somebody's going to call that the Gulf of Trump. Anyway, but you can see right here, right at this point on California, which has a lot more shit going on, you can see that it's a nice straight shot, just the whole freaking Pacific plate just ramming it into the continent. Over here we get some buckling going on. It actually takes away some of the pressure. And some of it comes from upper left to lower right. Oddly enough, pushing almost exactly towards the Oregon-California border. It's actually aiming at edge, is aiming pretty much Gold Beach. But it's most prominently this area here with a bunch of stuff going on. But again, this was two chunks of rock sliding past each other, like like when you're trying to get to work and you're arguing with the guy in the next lane for some reason. So anyway, that was the location. It's right there. And there's a lot of quake activity there. And you'll notice the one you're worrying about doesn't have much activity until you get down here in California. And yeah, again, that was at 4:30 a.m., 6 miles deep, 5.5 quake at location, 140 miles west of Bandon and or Coos Bay. I'll change that when I put up the video. And they're on the southern Oregon coast, and some YouTubers are going to lie to you about this, and they're using full-on AI, and they're not even spell checking, and they're sure as hell not fact checking. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. You'll need it. This has been a video trying to explain to you that, yes, yet again, you've probably been lied to, and you need to be aware of it. Bye.